Slide number 5. So for the next few slides, we will discuss the details of aerobic cellular respiration, which is basically cellular respiration in the presence of oxygen. This process basically is divided in 3 major steps or 3 metabolic pathways. The first one is called glycolysis. The second step is called the Krebs cycle, also known as the TCA cycle, and the citric acid cycle. And the third one is called the electron transfer phosphorylation, or some people or some books refers to that process as the electron transport system. Okay, glycolysis, the first metabolic pathway in this process, mainly involve, or the major goal is to take one molecule of glucose, which consists of 6 carbon atoms, and basically this involves a series of metabolic reactions in which basically glucose is broken down eventually into an end product known as pyruvate or pyruvic acid. The word glycolysis is a compound word. The prefix glyco means sugar, and lysis means to break. So that's the main goal of this pathway, to break a molecule of glucose. So I mentioned the end product is 2 molecules, each one containing 3 carbons, known as pyruvate. During this process, this energy is released. It's an overall exothermic pathway, and in which basically energy is released, and that energy that is produced during this process drive the synthesis of ATP, but also drive the synthesis of a reduced coenzyme known as NADH. Okay, let's see what happened next. Next slide, which is slide number 7. Here basically is trying to show you that the reduced enzymes NADH come from a precursor molecule known as NAD+, and also you need the presence of hydrogen ions in order to drive the synthesis of this reduced enzyme. The same basically principle applied to another coenzyme, which is also synthesized during aerobic cellular respiration. That other coenzyme is the second one. It's called FADH2, and the FADH2 is produced from a precursor molecule known as FAD, and also hydrogen ions must be present in order to drive the synthesis of these 2 coenzymes. So basically, once pyruvate is produced at the end of glycolysis, pyruvate is ready, if oxygen is available, is ready to enter the mitochondria and to continue with the synthesis of more ATP. During the process of pyruvate entering the mitochondria, pyruvate must be converted into a molecule known as acetyl-CoA. And during that process, carbon dioxide is released. That will explain why carbon dioxide is a metabolic product, and it's a product that we actually get rid of during the process of breathing out or exhaling air. So here's kind of a short diagram showing you how glycolysis connects to the Krebs cycle. In this diagram, the Krebs cycle is labeled as the TCA cycle. So the end product of glycolysis, something that I forgot to mention, is that glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. Pyruvate is produced in the cytoplasm, and pyruvate will basically permeate through the membrane of the mitochondria into the mitochondria, and then once pyruvate is inside the mitochondria, it becomes acetyl-CoA, and during that conversion, again, carbon dioxide is produced and is released. Now acetyl-CoA is ready to enter the mitochondria. The Krebs cycle. Here basically show you the details of, let me just back up a little bit on this one. Anyway, on this diagram, on this particular one, let me just back up, it's better. Here, basically, I try to show you pyruvate being produced in the cytoplasm, and then pyruvate will permeate through the membrane, outer membrane of the mitochondria. Once inside the mitochondria, it is converted into acetyl-CoA. Now, acetyl-CoA will enter the Krebs cycle, which is the second metabolic pathway of aerobic cellular respiration. Now, one cycle of the Krebs cycle, you have many intermediates being produced here, but what that cycle will allow the production of 2 more ATP molecules. It will allow the production of another 8 NADHs, which are reduced coenzymes, and also it will lead to the production of 2 molecules of FADH2, which is another coenzyme. Here in this slide, which is slide number 10, it shows you all the intermediate products that are produced during the Krebs cycle. Now, what happened? The third metabolic pathway, which is also occurs inside the mitochondria, is called the electron transport system, or electron transport phosphorylation. The main goal of this pathway is to utilize the energy that has been stored in the reduced coenzymes of NADH and FADH2, and to use that energy to drive the synthesis of more ATP. The bulk of ATP that is produced during the process of aerobic cellular respiration actually comes from the electron transport system. So basically, the framework, let's put it that way, of the electron transport system consists of a series of proteins or enzymes that are embedded in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, and they're basically adjacent next to each other, and that will allow what is called the transport of electrons, which is driven by the reduced coenzymes NADH and FADH2. During that process, basically at the end of that series of reactions of transport of electrons, is called reduction oxidation reactions, oxygen must be present.